The biggest revolution right now is being caused by Gen AI, which makes AI very accessible to a non-technical person. There is a acceptance of the fact that Gen AI is going to change how we do things, how we deliver service to our clients, as well as how we run our business. Law firms in today's day are no longer your mom and pop law firm down the street that's kind of printing paper and writing documents on paper. Law firms, we're in the business of data because we are securing and hosting our clients' most critical data. The level of sophistication has sort of gone to the next level where our clients are governments across the world. They are the large tech companies that you all have heard of. They are big businesses that have their own level of sophisticated technology, and they expect their law firm to have the same level of tech.
Welcome everyone to another episode of IT Visionaries, and today I have a special guest. Her name is Harpreet Suri, and she is the CTO of a company called K&L Gates. Now, I want to say before I kick it over to Harpreet that I'm super excited because Harpreet, this is the first time ever in the history of IT Visionaries, we've had a law firm on our show. So let's start there. Harpreet, what is K&L Gates?
Well, thank you for having me. And it sounds very exciting to be your first law firm guest, yeah?
Yeah.
So K&L Gates is a global law firm which has about 4,000 employees across its 46 offices. And today's K&L Gates, came to be as a result of multiple mergers over the years. And one of the most notable ones was actually in 2007, when Seattle-based Preston Gates and Ellis merged with Kirkpatrick and Lockhart. That's when we became a US-wide law firm. And then following that, there have been multiple mergers globally, and we have the widespread reach that we have today. Our lawyers counsel local, regional, and international clients across a wide range of dispute resolution, transactional, financial, and regulatory issues. And I am the Chief Technology Officer for the firm. So in my role, I am responsible for the technology that our lawyers use to service our clients, and our allied professionals, the staff that actually helps the lawyers, uses to assist the lawyers. And I'm responsible for information security and the management of data. Now, law firms are now what I like to call, our business is actually, we're in the business of data as well, because we are securing and hosting our clients' most critical data. So that's to kind of leave you with a thought that law firms in today's day are no longer your mom and pop law firm down the street that's kind of printing paper and writing documents on paper. The level of sophistication has sort of gone to the next level where our clients are governments across the world. They are the large tech companies that you all have heard of. They are big businesses that have their own level of sophisticated technology, and they expect their law firm to have the same level of tech.
Now, this is great for me because as a small business operator, I, of course, have had to deal with contract law, dispute resolutions. I think, in general, there are some people who have a bad representation in their mind of what a law firm is, except, let me tell you something, your mind will change very quickly when you need someone on your side. I will say that. And we have, we of course are represented. So I want to walk someone through this that may not understand exactly what you've just described, because I think most people who have worked with law firms have experienced the old way, right? It's like, hey, let's say there's a contract, let's say a simple contract dispute. How would that process go? Well, typically, what it is a lot of back and forth forwarding. I would call it forwarding. Like you forward emails to your attorney and you're forwarding documents and you're redlining documents. And even just before the case even begins, really, the evidence collection process is actually unbelievably time consuming. It is quite time consuming. And let's say there's multiple parties involved, the attorneys will have to interview multiple people. So just that evidence collection, when you describe, bringing a law firm into a modern technology player, I can already see that area of sophistication helping quite a bit. Give us an idea of where the areas beyond protect, like you mentioned, cybersecurity and securing data and assets. Give us an idea of where technology and innovation is changing the most in law practice.
So, in our law firm world, the biggest revolution right now is being caused by Gen AI, right? That is specifically what is changing the game for us, because there is a acceptance of the fact that Gen AI is going to change how we do things, how we deliver service to our clients, as well as how we run our business, right? So I'm very excited to actually tell you, for the first time in my working with law firms as an industry, I am seeing lawyers that are hugely excited about technology. They want to learn more, as opposed to feeling, oh, why are you pushing one more change to us? This is where our lawyers are excited to learn about prompt engineering and Gen AI and the large language models, and sometimes when I'm having these conversations with our lawyers, I am surprised at how the world has changed and how tech savvy my lawyers have become, because there is this acceptance that technology and how we use technology is going to differentiate us in the market.
Can you give us an example of where they want, like what areas they most want to apply this new technology? Because, for me, I think of myself on the consumer side. I think I would love it. I use that evidence collection process. I would love it to be much, much easier. The way it is, the old way, requires, substantial effort from, in my case, I'm the client, right? So it requires substantial effort from the client. It requires substantial efforts from my attorney and a lot of interpretation. So for example, I forward a message to my attorney. I have to decide, like, how much do I want to maybe write about it to kind of like set the framework of why I'm submitting this as a piece of evidence. The attorney themselves has to evaluate that information, say, is this critical, not critical, and then make maybe a decision on it. So it's a very manual process. So in my mind, that can be definitely mitigated and helped. But I was curious, from your perspective, where are you seeing the attorneys most want to, like, maybe improve processes or modernize the process?
Yeah, so the client interaction starts with the data transfer phase, right? When you've onboarded a client, as you mentioned, onboarding their data, we are putting a lot of time, money, and effort into smoothing that part of the process, where instead of clients having to email us, we have sophisticated third-party tools that they just log in, they put their data in there, and then it's up to us how we collect it, what we do with it, and this is where Gen AI is playing a big role. We are piloting certain tools at the moment, and the space is so new that we are developing our own use cases. But our lawyers absolutely want the process to be simpler, for our process to be easier on the client, and for any repetitiveness to be removed completely. And that's where I think Gen AI can play a big role, where the first draft of, let's say a final document that has to be given to a client can perhaps be generated using a Gen AI tool. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That speeds up our response to our client, helps us avoid the 50 different questions we need to ask, because the Gen AI can get that data directly from the multiple documents or thousands of documents that have been submitted to us by a client, right? So those are some of the use cases we are actively working on at the moment. And I think that is where Gen AI will play a huge role.
Yeah, that's awesome, because that initial phase is, let's say it's painful for everybody. It's a challenge, or it's a challenge, Yep. And that's the thing is, you kind of hit it at the repetitiveness of it, because it has to happen with every engagement. It has to probably happen with every possible, there's probably a repeated process for every piece of evidence submission, follow-up call. And then all of that, of course, delays what we really want, which is your expertise and judgment as to, like, well, what next? You know what I mean? Because that's what we really want.
Yeah.
Imagine seamless customer experiences, fast internet, and the bandwidth required to embrace new technologies. Are you ready to experience the network that makes it all possible? There's no network quite like Zayo's. With North America's largest independently owned fiber network, Zayo provides the backbone, connecting your organization to what's next. Thousands of data centers to cloud on-ramps, towers, and points of presence. Zayo's network carries massive amounts of data globally every single day. What really sets Zayo apart is their coast-to-coast routes spanning from Canada into Mexico that you simply won't find anywhere else. The most innovative companies choose Zayo because they are not just connecting places, but connecting what's next for you. Discover the power of Zayo's network today. www.zayo.com/network. When you think about implementing these structures, or these new technologies, of course, you can't rely on them 100% right now in your work, meaning you can't just, it's not a set and forget it tool, right? There's like nightmare stories of attorneys citing cases relying only on ChatGPT. Now, these are not good attorneys. These people do not work at K&L Gates, but we've cited in previous episodes of IT Visionaries when an attorney, went to GPT, asked it some law questions. It returned back cases that were fictional. And they tried to use them in case this person's been disbarred. But point being is these things are building, right? They're still building in their accuracy. And then, of course, your clients depend on 100% accuracy from you. How do you, I guess, bridge that gap? Because the technology is new, you're implementing it. Of course, you want to rely on it, but you also have to double check and confirm anything that the technology is, inferring. And then you want to give the best client engagement process possible. Give us an idea how you're testing, implementing, validating, handling the quality controls, and evolving the process.
Yeah, so at K&L Gates, we took a very robust approach with Gen AI because when these news articles started floating around, right, we did not want to be one of those attorneys or law firms. So what we did is we have a group called AI Solutions Group, which is a group of very senior lawyer leaders across the globe who are truly experts in their fields that are collaborating in bringing Gen AI into the firm, right? And working hand in hand with our general counsel, myself, and some of the other leaders at the firm. So what we started off with is understanding the landscape. We came up with an AI policy. We made sure all our lawyers are aware of our AI policy, which is not restrictive, but generally puts the onus on the lawyer to do the right thing, And then before we are handing out any Gen AI tools to our lawyers, we are ensuring they are taking training on prompt engineering. They are taking training on what Gen AI actually is, what are the do's and don'ts. So we've partnered with some vendors to provide training to our lawyers, and the license for these Gen AI tools is not given to them until they have taken the training, they have read and confirmed that they understand the policy. And then that's when they start playing with the tool to develop use cases for their clients. And then, unless the client has agreed to, we are not putting their data through a Gen AI tool or, using Gen AI technology on their matters. So those are the things that I truly believe are going to help us educating our user base on what Gen AI means, what it can and cannot do. And the fact remains, you still need your lawyer to review the work, review the citations, make sure that the end product is truly something that K&L Gates wants you delivering. So those are the parameters that are absolutely in place. And it took us a while to ensure we have the right level of training for our people. So it's not like we bought a tool and we started giving licenses out. No, there was a policy that was put in place. There's training in place, and then we say, okay, now you need to talk to your client and see if they are willing for you to use this technology. There's a bit of stuff that needs to happen before Gen AI is used.
No doubt about it. When I think of how dynamic the field of law is, right? So because you never really know, you never really know what the evidence is. You never really know. So there's certain things that you can prove some things that clearly maybe didn't happen. There's inferences, there's incomplete data structures that you have to then use as evidence potentially, or decide it's not credible or not worth it. There's a lot of judgments basically in the process. So when you think of like, because there's two judgments that have to be made. One, the tool makes judgment, or the softwares that you're developing have to make judgments. The people that are reviewing have to make judgments. How do you train your team to then say, hey, we need to implement this to provide the most amount of information so that our attorney can make the final judgment? Or are you making inference like, hey, we're going to eliminate this information because they don't need it? How do you train your team to make these calls, and how to program the toolkits that you're going to be using?
AI has been in use in the legal industry for a few years now. Last 1.5 years have been a little bit of a game changer, because now there's Gen AI, which is truly which makes AI very accessible to a non-technical person.
Right.
That's what generative AI has done. So the new tools that we have, the technology team does not have to make the decision for the lawyers. The lawyers are being trained to make those decisions themselves, right? So that is where the game has changed slightly, and that is why the training of how to use the tool, what prompt engineering is, how do you write different prompts, have to be given to the lawyers, and they have to be open to learn those skills so that they can use the tools. So this removes the technology team from the equation, because we are not deciding on behalf of the attorney. The attorney decides themselves what is a good outcome versus what is one with too many hallucinations.
For yourself, this sounds like you're obviously in charge of also setting the recruiting roadmap, acquiring technical talent to help deliver these tools. Do you find it more challenging, less challenging, or just a different challenge? Because, when I think of, we've interviewed so many software companies, right? And software companies, I would say, a lot of the problems they are solving are, in my opinion, much more binary, where it's like, hey, this is right, this is wrong. So for example, like, if I'm processing credit card payments, like, did it process the credit card? Either process the right number or it didn't process the right number. There's no judgment. Your field is so different. How do you find it even more challenging to recruit? Is it easier to recruit? Do people get excited when they hear the problems you're solving? Give us an idea what's like acquiring talent, because that is just something that every technical leader has to do.
That's an interesting question, because what happens is a law firm is a knowledge firm, in the sense that we are providing professional legal services to our clients. So we aren't necessarily in the business of tech, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at it, we actually are, because we cannot provide our services if we don't have the best-in-class technology. The fact that we get our top clients is only after they have audited our technology, right? That's part of the process of getting a client onboarded, right? So tech is very important, but tech can be delivered the right way when you have the right talent. So recruiting top talent is a challenge. And, during the COVID days, when everybody was joining the big tech firms and leaving, other industries, it became an issue. We had to look at what sort of retention mechanisms we need to put in place. But in order to get the best talent, we pay top dollar, we make sure our people are happy, and we make sure we give them the opportunities to sort of do different things, even within tech. We are a small team, small technology team, but we do a lot. We get to touch multiple new tools and technologies. And so that's the beauty of working within the legal services domain.
How about for yourself? What drew you to this field? Because you've been, of course, you've done many different things. You've overseen giant cloud migrations. You've done global transformation, digital transformations at multiple different companies. What made you say, okay, I'm going into this field? Because it is so different.
Yeah, I spent a majority of my career in financial services, and then prior to that in consulting organizations, right? So legal services is different, but there were many similarities with the financial world as well, right? In the financial world, you have your traders and the bankers that you're dealing with, who are your top clients, internal clients. And then at law firms, you have your partners and lawyers that are your clients, right? So that was a direct translation. And the fact that law firms also have a global reach and the technology challenges remain the same. Yeah. So there is a significant need for ensuring there is compliance to local regulation, in the banking industry as well as in the legal industry, because you are dealing with critical data when it comes to law firms. So for myself, I think I've really enjoyed my journey so far within law firms. It's a small niche world, but it's amazing how many industries it touches, and you actually get to do a little bit of everything. So that's what has been very exciting for me.
Imagine a world where your data flows like electricity, unseen, yet powering everything you do. A world where high availability, low latency, and disaster recovery are not just expectations, but realities. Welcome to the future, powered by Zayo's network. Zayo has meticulously designed North America's largest independent fiber network, a network that isn't just vast, but strategically planned, connecting the places that matter most to you. Thousands of data centers, cloud on-ramps, towers, and critical points of presence. Cross-continental routes unique to Zayo offer connections that you just can't find anywhere else. Zayo provides routing diversity that ensures your operations never skip a beat, and ultra-low latency for when microseconds matter. In a world that never stops, Zayo is the network underneath it all, helping the most innovative and forward-thinking companies grow. Because Zayo doesn't just connect places, they connect possibilities. Discover the power of Zayo's network today. Visit www.zayo.com/network.
When I think of the cases I've been a part of, right? So like whether it's contract disputes, ownership disputes, one of my other prior companies, we had, I feel fine saying it. We had employees. We caught one stealing. Whenever you have these things, I always think about like the amount of interpretation, because this is why when I first saw your name come across my desk, I was like, I really want to meet you, because I know the amount of interpretation that happens in law is so substantial. And so like I think about how much better it can be if tech was part of the process. When you think about evaluating technologies as well, right? So you're evaluating technologies to possibly bring into K&L Gates. What are you looking for? Because I just think it's such a wide field. So like a great example would be like the ability to look at transactions. I'll use transactions, right? So in this fraud case we had, it's like the transactions are all legit. Like meaning these transactions happen. This is my credit card statement. This is my credit card statements from the different companies. These are my receipts from my QuickBooks and so on. So it takes interpretation to be like, I see possibly misspending. When you look for tools and it doesn't have to be in that field, but like, how do you evaluate what is good, what is bad, what should be implemented, what is the potential? Because there's so much interpretation involved, and like I can see, I'm just fascinated what goes into the decision process of what is going to be part of your tech stack versus what is not.
There are two ways to answer this question. There are tools that we procure for our internal use. Yeah.
Right.
That our lawyers are using internally to collaborate with each other, or sort of those tools are not seen by the clients. And then there is technology that is front facing and external facing, front facing to the client and external facing. So when it comes to anything that our lawyers are going to use, the single most important thing is ease of adoption to new tech. Now, we need to have solutions that are intuitive, that I don't have to train my user base on, hey, this is how you do it. It should be intuitive. And I think tech has come a long way where some of the newer tools I'm seeing, they're fantastic. Large tech companies are finally focusing on user experience, So it makes life easier if it's a tool that the lawyer can look at and intuitively understands how to use it. The other important factor is security, right? So a tool that is easy to use and ensures and meets all our compliance and security needs, those are the things I'm looking at. We are investing significantly in buying the best in class tools. You name it, we probably have a version of it, right? Either we are piloting it, or we've determined that it's of no good to us, or we've bought it, right? So we truly have the latest and greatest when it comes to tech. And the decision is not on the basis of cost, it is truly on the basis of ease of adoption and whether it's going to be secure or not.
For anyone listening out there, don't come to Harpreet if you can't check boxes 1 and 2, because it's getting punted to the moon, or it's not making it past the gate. That is once it's validated that, hey, it's easy to use, the next thing is it handles the security requirements. What goes into the evaluation of saying, hey, this is definitely going to be one? Because I feel like, anyways, whenever I think of the toolkits for most software companies, I feel like it's easier to come to a judgment. I have a hard time connecting the dots of how you guys validate software because, like I said, the things that you need help making judgments on are so much more complicated.
Yeah, so my life would have been significantly easier if I ran the tech team at a technology firm, because the majority of your user base, lives and breathes technology. So you don't have to go above and beyond to explain to them how it works. They'll just get it. Yeah. But the challenge people in roles like myself face, those that are leading, say, technology within hospitals or technology within, law firms or others businesses. Our challenge is that our primary user base is not a technologist by profession, right? So ease of use is very, very important. When we are evaluating technology, we form a group of people that is not just technologists, but also includes, some lawyers as well, depending on the type of tool we are buying. So the security decision making and whether the tech will sort of integrate well with the rest of the tech that we have already, that's done. That determination is done by the technologists. And then we use, the feedback from our lawyers who have participated in the pilot or evaluation process to tell us if it is going to work for the lawyer base or not. And then we are also, lucky to have a group of people in IT now who have worked at law firms for years and years and understand what works with lawyers and what doesn't. So their feedback is hugely important.
I'm thinking about, as you're talking to this, like how much more advanced can the user experience get? Because that's something that you hit on earlier in the conversation. You talked about, hey, not only the lawyer experience, but also the client experience. How much more frictionless do you see? Like, what do you envision a law engagement looking like in the future? Like not today, but maybe in the future when things get even more mature and get more sophisticated. What is that engagement going to look like? Is it going to be, for example, I'm in the middle of this. You can comment on it if you want. You don't have to, but the FTX restructuring, I was part of it. I lost some money in FTX. I've been very vocal about it on LinkedIn, but we're nowhere. It doesn't feel like I'm anywhere closer to a resolution. And it's a hard case. It's extremely complicated and hard, and it's going to take a long time to try and to figure out. How much better do you see the experience going to be in the future for everyone involved? Because I think one thing everyone knows right now is the legal process is actually quite long. Even if you don't forget the court date, right? You get the court date as assigned by the court, but the process is long. And the more complicated the case, of course, it takes longer. How much better do you see legal engagements getting in the future?
That's a very interesting question, because for legal engagements and the legal system to get better and enhanced, not just the law firms, but also the government bodies have to be operating at a similar level of technology and sophistication, right? So I do envision a world where, there is, what I would like to call frictionless data transfer, right? Frictionless data consumption, where the security parameters are automatically in place and the courts are getting what the lawyers want to send them in time, on time. They trust what they are getting because they have faith in the underlying technology that is delivering the data to them. And at the same time, the clients are able to engage with law firms, in a frictionless manner, right? So that is the end game, essentially. But I also see that, technologies will always just be a means to get better, right? We still will always need qualified lawyers, because you can have trained models, but the training has been done on historical data. And we have seen time and time again that there are cases where something new comes up and you have an exceptionally smart lawyer or exceptionally smart law firm team that helps to position the response the right way, right?
Yeah.
That is a new idea. That is not something your machine can do based on all the learning it's done. So, you would still need the qualified, highly sophisticated, intelligent lawyer. However, the technology can aid that process, make it simpler, make it frictionless. That is where I think we would achieve a great success.
Yeah. I'm envisioning a future where, and this is my words, not yours, but if someone was to bring up a case, let's say against me, and I thought it was bunk, and I wanted to defend myself, that we could gather all the evidence in like a week. I would love for that and be like, we're ready to go. Like,
all of that is something that absolutely the technology can help with.
Yeah. So, one of the things we like to do here at IT Visionaries is we also like to see your opinions on certain things. So this is a fun one I put together. We're going to catch you. It's not a gotcha. These are all legal scenarios, but I want to curious is your answers are going to be, is this coming soon, meaning less than 5 years, or is it more than 5 years away? You ready for a little fun? We're talking because you have a unique seat. You've evaluated and continue to evaluate more tools probably than anybody in the game of like logics in decision making and the ability to interpret data. So I think you have a unique seat for this.
Well, I will
all right.
try my best. Yeah.
It's just an opinion. You can't be, you know what I mean? So are we more than or less than 5 years away? So tell me if you think this is less than 5 years away or you think it's probably more than 5 years away. All right. Here you go. When will computer software be able to understand slang in text? Because sometimes people communicate, they don't communicate in complete sentences. How far away are we from computers understanding slang?
Less than 5 years away, definitely.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to, I'm waiting for the day when someone says like, I'm imagining a court case where someone can interpret like the hands up emoji as in like, hey, yep. I was happy that this happened. All right. How about my example from earlier, accounting fraud? So in accounting fraud, typically the transactions look legit. Someone has to figure out that they're illegitimate transactions. How far away is software from understanding accounting fraud?
Truly less than 5 years away, because I have seen and heard of, these solutions that are being developed that are focused on identifying risk within a credit card transactions. Yeah.
Okay, this is cool.
Definitely less than 5 years away. Yeah.
This is going to help a lot of people. How about logical arguments like on the LSAT? How far away from solving that, where you can say, for example, Katie's standing next to Bob. Bob never stands next to Johnny. Johnny always stands here. What's their order? How is that? That sounds like it's less than 5 years. You think it's able to solve logic less than 5 years?
Less than 5 years. Yeah. Logic definitely less than 5 years.
Okay. How about setting precedent? So an event happens, you gathered all the data, and in the future, I'm imagining lawyers be like prompting, like, tell me all the cases that this has also happened in. How far away are we from setting precedent?
We aren't too far at all.
This is also less than 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
This is great. We already talked about evidence gathering. Okay, how about this? Seems like it's pretty close, but I haven't seen it yet. Is understanding everything that's in a screenshot. So, for example, I send it because my lawyers in the past have asked me like, "Hey, submit screenshots of your text messages and submit screenshots of, like internal chat communications." And what they're doing is they take I take a picture. They of course want the date record in it, and they're manually right now applying the date record to like when in unwrapping the sequence of events. How far is sequencing with screenshots? Less than 5 years or more than 5 years away?
Yeah, sequencing is also less than 5 years.
Okay, so far everything is less than 5 years. Okay, you know what? That's it. Like this is for anyone who you can hear the excitement in my voice, but for anyone who has been in a legal case, I think you can see based on these things how much law is going to change in the next 5 years.
I am very excited about the journey of technology in law, right? We are truly on a mission to make the delivery of legal services significantly better.
Well, Harpreet, it was awesome having you today on IT Visionaries. I think your expertise and experience has given me such great, I guess, anticipation and excitement for what can be, because I think most of, like you kind of hit the nail on the head. Your clients, they want to do what they do. I want to do the legal law. If of course you can have a bad opinion about it, but I'm going to phrase it as it's a protector. It has protected me multiple times from fraudulent cases or bad cases or bad actors, whatever the case may be. The law has always been on my side, and I appreciate it. So for me, I obviously don't want to litigate. It's not my opinion. Like I don't want to do it ever. I don't want to do it ever. So if we can make that easier for me so that everyone can do what they actually want to do more often, then this is a big, huge win for everyone that's listening to the show. Listen, if you're curious about working in this field, Harpreet, I'm sure you're looking for talent. Are you looking for talent?
Always.
Listen, we're going to link up the job board at K&L Gates in our show notes. If you liked what you heard and are interested in helping Harpreet and K&L Gates solve some of these challenges and make it easier to bring law to everybody, click the link below in the show notes. Harpreet, once again, thanks for joining us today on the show. I think you've created great excitement for what is going to change in the future in the practice of law, because for anyone who's gone through it, you can see quickly what she's talking about is going to make it easier.
Thank you.